Hey folks, this is Dr. Kat Schreier, founder of Water Citizen and host of WaterPitch, the Water Startup Matching Extravaganza. And we wanted to give you a real quick little preview of what's coming up for next year's WaterPitch with one of our amazing reverse pitch presenters. That's one of the folks who's going to come in and share with water startups what it is that they do and how they support water startups. And today we are going to hear from Maddy Zimmerman, the America's manager for SWAN, which is the Smart Water Networks. Maddy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, SWAN has been pretty big all over the internet. Tell us a little bit about SWAN, what it is, how it started, just like the little symbol size version.
Yeah, absolutely. So SWAN is entering its 15th year, and it stands for Smart Water Networks Forum. And we are the leading voice for smart water globally. And so we work with stormwater, wastewater, and drinking water to advance the adoption of smart water networks. And we do that by bringing together industry experts, such as utilities, solution providers, engineering firms, consulting firms, academics, to really create this community to drive the industry forward. And some of our values are contagious collaboration, passionate progression, and serious fun. So we always make sure to create this ecosystem where everyone can learn from each other and build build a more resilient future using digital infrastructure.
This is actually very near and dear to my heart. My doctorate was in water resources, well, a civil engineering and water resource planning and management, doing collaborative water planning, right? And so, putting together these, back when we call them, integrated multi-criteria decision analysis, decision support system, all these complicated terms, and now people just kind of condense that down to smart water, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So and so that, and actually I was looking on your site, I mean, that there's a whole spectrum of stuff that includes. It's everything from the sensing to, the remote sensing capabilities, to how that's turned into data, to how that data is processed. It's really the whole 9 yards, right?
exactly. And we work with, we want all utilities to feel empowered to do their digital transformation journey. So we always make sure to not only be utility centric, but also to make sure that what we offer reaches all utilities, whether they're just starting their digital transformation journey or they're years in, there's always something there that can benefit our utilities. And likewise with our solution providers and startups as well. We want everyone to feel empowered to join a seat at the table and share their findings, their unexpected outcomes, how they're approaching different challenges within the water space.
Very cool, very cool. And so you have the events, you've got communities. Tell us, like, how do you work with people through your network?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different groups. What's most near and dear to my heart is the Americas Alliance. So we have regional alliances that really focus on regional specific topics. So within the Americas Alliance, that's North through South America. And we have a really large contingency in the US, so we can really dive into topics that how different EPA rules might be affecting the use of AI, and how is Canada looking into out the way the EPA is regulating AI, and et cetera. So even though we have these different nations, they're all learning from each other. And so we do that through putting out different reports, having different calls. And then we have also various communities of practice focus in on specific topics. So anywhere from AI to digital twins. And then we also have a specific community for startups, which is really great for all of our startups. They have within our startup community, it's closed to only startups, and they have these cohorts that meet monthly to discuss different challenges and what they're going through as startups, as it's a very unique journey. And then quarterly, the whole startup group will come together. So it's really, again, that contagious collaboration is really like underline everything we do because we always want to bring people together and create this culture of collaboration because it's a rising tide lifts all ships. So as we want to make sure we share all of our knowledge, all of our techniques to help lift up the entire industry. And also within the startup community, we do sometimes open it up to the larger community for things like meeting the larger SWAN community for events such as Meet the Startups, so people can hear what are these startups doing. We have done utility challenge statements where utility shares a challenge and different startups respond to it. And we've even done ones calls related to funding and scaling. Again, we want to uplift our startups and empower them to really be the change makers in the water sector.
Very cool. Yes, we definitely share that this can be an industry. Of course, you bring together everybody um around the topic. We're bringing together some of the similar sorts of folks, but around support for the founders in particular. And this can be a space, excuse me, that's very dominated by the big dogs, right? We've got all these big tech companies that have emerged. They're buying each other and everything. We have big consulting firms that get into tech and provide digital services and sometimes actually develop the models and things like that themselves. So how do you really make sure that startups don't get lost in the shuffle?
Yeah, so I think one thing is Swan is completely vendor neutral. So anytime, whether we're doing an online event or an in-person event, we always make sure that we have diverse representation within our agendas and who's speaking. We want to make sure that it's not just like one big solution provider speaking, or it's not just only these large corporate firms, that we have the voice of the startups, the voices of the small communities as well. And I think one of our the water industry is notoriously known for being slow to change, but these startup tech is rapidly developing, and the startups are really at that forefront of applying new technology. So because they're at that forefront, they're going to have these really interesting stories to tell and different ways of approaching the problem. I've heard some of my favorite stories have been talking about just helping utilities make that ROI or create innovation as a culture. Like maybe we can use some software engineering mindsets to shift the way that we think about these problems. And that was coming from startups, thinking about cloud-based SCADA systems. And in a small utility, you have really limited staff and but you need to get your SCADA system into your IT environment. So creating these cloud-based systems really, it creates that automatic merge to grossly simplify it. But those are the startups are doing that, and those are the interesting stories, and those are the things that are changing the water sector. So I think because they're unique, they shine on their they kind of naturally shine on their own, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we've certainly seen a lot of that at our past events. That really taking some of the necessities and necessary data and analysis, it needs to be a part of anything with water, whether it's for utilities, whether it's for industry, whether it's for habitat, whatever, to make it real time, to make it better, faster, cheaper, more affordable, easier to install, easier to maintain, safer. We did at our Water Innovation Nation Celebration Virtual Summit this summer, we had a great conversation with one of our startups whose real-time monitoring device for biological contaminants was what was used in the Seine River at the Paris Olympics, right? So when they were deciding on the triathlon whether people could swim in the Olympics or not, and they moved the men's competition a day, that was because of them, right? So this is they're nimble, they're able to get into places, and they can be affordable for people who want to try something new, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is such a cool story.
Yeah.
Um, that's awesome. And I think one of, and because they're nimble, they're easy, they're able to adjust to what utilities need. And I think one of the values of SWAN is that we are, as a utility-centric organization, you're constantly hearing as to what are utility challenges. They're presenting on anything from, starting that digital transformation journey to this is my digital twin, this is how I'm implementing AI. So they can hear what utilities are thinking about and see how can my solution fit into what utilities are trending towards and things like that. So I think it's a really I think it's a beautiful match of utilities getting to share what's on their mind while also giving startups that opportunity to really find their space in the market.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's why these reverse pitches are so critical, to be able to hear from the water startups, hear from the industrial startups, to hear from the support organizations like SWAN and the support that you all provide. And I know we got to wrap up soon, but I did want to say, I just saw a statistic from this White House roundtable on innovation for water, and that 85% of utilities have like 3 or fewer staff people. So they don't have an entire IT department to be able to, figure out how to use something new. And we really want to make sure that we're incorporating both the bigger, and often we'll get the larger utilities will have someone do the reverse pitch, but we also want to make sure we're hearing from the small and mid-sized folks as well. Are you guys able to really connect with a lot of the small and mid-sized folks as well?
We have mid-size for sure. The small utilities, that is a market that we are really working in connecting with. And we're some of our solution providers and startups that are members do work with those small utilities. So it's great when hearing from them as to what are the challenges of these small utilities. And so it's something that we're really working to expand into our those really tiny utilities. But for now we're mostly mid to large.
Very
Yeah.
cool. So as you're, and I want to make sure that we have a chance to mention that you have your in-person events coming up as well, and they're not at the same time. There's no conflict, so you'll be able to come to WaterPitch, you'll be able to come to SWAN events. So the big annual forum this year is going to be where?
In Berlin on May 27th to 29th. The theme is Scaling Smart Water. It's our 15th conference, so a really, really exciting that we've not made it, but we're at 15 years. And so it'll be a really great 3-day interactive event.
Very cool. Very
Call
cool.
for abstracts are still out, so yeah, please submit your abstracts.
Fantastic. All right. And then your baby, we were commiserating on this when we're getting close to our respective events. You also have an event here in the Americas. When is that? Tell us
Yeah,
about
so for those of us that can't travel overseas, we will be hosting a workshop in Phoenix on January 16th and 17th. The 16th will be a full day interactive workshop with 4 panels, a keynote, some roundtable discussions that are always they're our bread and butter, most anticipated section of our workshop. And then we'll have a half-day utility tour at City of Phoenix wastewater treatment plant on the 17th. Um, and so, yeah, we're really excited about event coming up. It's our first time in the Southwest, so I'm really excited to meet a bunch of all the water people down in Arizona and the surrounding area.
Very cool, very cool. We'd love to have Phoenix come out and join us as well, and any of the startups in the Southwest and all over the place. Yes, that certainly is coming up. And then of course our event, WaterPitch, is going to be February 18th, 19th, and 20th, with prep day on the 18th, pitch day on the 19th, and policy day with a congressional briefing by water startups on the 20th. And you, of course, will be there as part of that pitch day presentation. What in particular are you going to be looking for because of course you're going to be presenting at the entrepreneur support session towards the end, but you're going to have that opportunity to see all these different pitches. We'll have up to 10 per session for 6 different sessions of pitches. What are you looking for there?
Well, just in general, I'm so excited to meet all these startups because, as I mentioned, they're the ones that are really driving the water industry forward and being agile um, throughout all of the challenges of the water industry. I'm really looking. I'm really looking for seeing what who are the startups that are really focused on digital and especially again like who's focusing on those like small to medium utilities. I think those are the utilities that we need to be talking with because again limited staff don't have a whole IT department to um, manage their digital infrastructure, but also they just as much as they need to have like really good digital hygiene just as much as our large utilities. So I think those I'm really excited to meet those startups and yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting them and seeing different ways that we can collaborate to help amplify their work and have them work with SWAN. I think it's such a great community and we love having new startups join.
Beautiful, beautiful. We love having Swan here. Of course, that was my little alarm telling me to stop talking at 50 minutes. But I do want to say, you guys have this Rising Water Professionals group. A lot of people know Swan for the Rising Water Professionals, which is the under 35s. But startups are not just young people, right? It's not just the YPs.
Oh yeah, for sure. We have startups, people, yeah, I wouldn't most of the time I don't even think of them in the same like the smart water professional group and the startups, I think of them as two different groups. Um, Not because startups can be anyone of any age, and our young professionals are really coming in from various backgrounds. Some of them are at those big engineering firms, some of them might be at utilities. So it's those are yeah. So if you're under 35 and under, you're welcome to join the Rising Smart Water Professional Group. But it's not just a start, and it's not like a second startup group. Yeah.
And we find sometimes we talk about startups and people are like, oh yeah, we want to have innovation, we want to have startups. We got to look to the young people for that. It's like, wait a minute. A lot of the most successful startups are the ones that it's somebody who is actually, they've lived the pain is the term the investors use. They've lived the pain. They know, what the real problems are. It's not, oh, I want to do, an Uber for dog walking or something. It's, if we could fix this little thing here and get, shorten the response time or the evaluation time with something digital, then this is going to save us a lot of money and time and effort and make it safer and better. Fantastic, right? Once they've
Absolutely.
worked in it, right? And
Yeah, I've heard
yeah,
that's what I've heard from some of our startups is like I was working at X place and I was like, well, we could be doing it this way and I'm gonna do it this way. So yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in the startup community and in startups. So and it's great. I love the fact that we have a place where that wisdom can be nurtured and really brought together. Um, yeah.
so we are thrilled to have Swan. We are thrilled to have any digital startups that want to come. If you are doing something digital that is not necessarily in the water space right now, I was just at demo days for tech. Let's see. Um, Techstars. Techstars had their demo day for DC and they were focusing on anything related to logistics and infrastructure and all these legacy industries and energy and banking. And I was like, so what about water? Water is definitely a legacy industry. And they have a lot of logistics. So things to like manage documents and match it up with the finances and whatever else. You just make it better, easier to do the things that these folks are doing to protect our water, to provide our wastewater services, protect our stormwater. So, okay, so I definitely have gone over at this point. But I love this topic, obviously. It's so cool to be able to talk with someone who is equally as excited about this. And your Phoenix event, you want to tell them when it is?
January 16th and 17th.
January 16th and 17th. And for any of the information on SWAN, where do they go?
You can go to swan-forum.com.
swan-forum.com. And of course, if you want to come to WaterPitch, we'd love to have you come to WaterPitch. Go to waterpitch.org. Still early registration to the end of the year. And we'll see you February 18th to 20th. And Maddy, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you so much.